Hello everyone! Today we'll be taking a look at the Switch 2 Pro controller and we'll do the first teardown video on YouTube. I've heard good things about this controller, so I'm very excited to check it out. Unfortunately, I don't have the Switch 2 yet, because it's a bit overpriced here. But I'll try to test it on PC and see how it performs. In the box you get a USB Type-C cable and the Switch Pro controller, no manuals. The Pro controller has two new back buttons, the GL and GR, and it also has a headphone jack, along with the credit card button. The first thing you'll notice is the soft touch material. This material is anti-sweat and anti-fingerprints. The sweat kinda gets absorbed by the controller, or it evaporates very quickly, I don't know which one is true, but it never gets sweaty or moisturized. When you pick it up, the controller is always dry. And that's not the first time I've seen this kind of material. The first controller I ever reviewed in this channel had a material similar to this one, the Big One Elitist S. The second thing is the analog sticks, which feels amazing. They're super smooth and silent, and when you move it around the edges, you won't feel any kind of friction. That's because this controller has internal restriction rings. It's easier to see if we do a marker test like this. No matter how much I rotate it, it never removes the marker. In other controllers, you can easily see the point of contact. The buttons are membrane buttons, with a slightly smaller travel distance than the original Pro controller. And they are also super silent. Here's the Pro controller for comparison. And check the noise difference. The shutter buttons and triggers also feel like they had the travel distance reduced, and they're also more silent now. The D-pad is a membrane D-pad, and it feels very similar to the original Pro controller. It also has a pivot in the center, preventing you from hitting all four directions. The diagonals appears to be very easy to hit, which is a good point in my opinion. On the original Pro controller, the plus and minus buttons were tactile, like the home and capture buttons. But on the Pro controller 2, they're now membrane buttons, while the capture and home buttons are still tactile. And finally, we have the two new back buttons. And I gotta say, they're in the perfect position. Right around the middle section of your middle finger. This way, you can kinda avoid it if you want, but you can also reach it with minimal effort. Also, if you grip the controller a bit, you won't accidentally press them. And the back buttons are easy to press on the left or right side. Even with this anti-friction tape, the original Pro controller is too loud. And look how much better it is on the Pro controller too. Testing the resistance of the sticks, we have around 60 grams worth, which is the same value for the original Pro controller, PlayStation, and Xbox controllers. But it feels a bit harder to move around, especially when moving the stick out from the center position. I believe that the recentering mechanism was reinforced here. On the original, you had a bit more of play when moving around the center, but on the Pro controller 2, the recentering is stronger. Unfortunately, the Pro Controller 2 is not compatible with the original Nintendo Switch. And I couldn't pair it to my smartphone either. It could not be detected via Bluetooth. I also tried connecting to a PC with a cable, but no success. It gets detected as an HID device, but it doesn't respond. I also tried using all kinds of adapters and none of them worked. So I'm afraid I won't be able to test the controller's performance just yet. Hopefully down the road someone will make a program or a driver to make it compatible. Moving to the teardown, we have to remove the front plate of the controller. To make this easy, use a hairdryer to soften the adhesive. And then we can pry it out from the top. The faceplate is a bit hard to remove, but the good thing is that it will be easy to change the color and customize it if you want. Next, you'll have to remove 7 screws as shown here. Then you can lift open this part, but you have to be careful because there is a plastic locking mechanism here. It fits like this. And then you have this middle section. One thing to note is that they added a thin rubber layer here to dampen the noise of the buttons. This is what makes it so silent. And here's how the buttons are inside the controller. The D-pad is also different here. The pivot is recessed, and it's a very interesting design. I just don't know if it makes any difference in the performance. Here's a comparison with the original Pro Controller D-pad. And now we can see the internal restriction gate. When you move the stick around, this internal ring will stop the stick before it touches the edges. This is not something new. The first controller to add this was the Beitong Zeus 2, but Nintendo is the first-party company to be using this feature. And they actually raised the bar here. In the Pro Controller 2, the internal gate is made of rubber, so not only it's smooth around the edges, but also silent. I tried to remove the analog stick, but it was very tight, so let's disassemble it a bit more. There is a water damage sticker here. And you can see 4 screws, 2 on each shutter button. After removing those, the middle section still didn't come off. So I found 6 more hidden screws that you'll have to remove. 2 here, 2 more here, and the last 2 are hidden here. After removing those, the middle section comes off. And you can lift up the whole motherboard. Just be careful with the connectors. This is the connector of the HD rumble and back buttons. Checking the sticks now, it seems to be removable, so I'll apply a bit more of force. The connector of the stick is a bit larger than normal, so you won't be able to replace it with other stick models. Checking the triggers, they have a metal pivot, which is very good for durability. And the membrane is easy to replace too. The battery has 1070 milliamps. And we can see the connector for the analog sticks, which are modular this time. Here's a look at the chips on the board. Removing the motherboard, we can see the Amiibo reader. And this flex PCB is connected to all of the buttons. If one of the buttons gets damaged, you'll have to replace the entire thing. As I said before, these two are for the analog sticks, and this one is for the headphone jack. The analog sticks brand is Alps, which is a bit disappointing because this probably means that this is not a Hall effect stick. The module is quite different from anything available in the market, so there's no replacements for these right now. If you get stick drift, you'll have to wait a bit. And you should avoid opening these modules too, because these tabs are very fragile and they're very likely to break. I will try to open this here for science, but hopefully I won't damage anything. And guess what? I did damage one of the tabs, but I got it open, and now let's see what's inside. And to our disappointment, this is still a potentiometer module, meaning that it is susceptible to stick drift. Be gentle to your Pro controllers, everyone. Looking at the Joy-Con module from Tronix Fix Teardown, they're very similar. We will have to wait and see if these are reinforced and more resistant to stick drift. Meanwhile, GullyKit should be already working on Hall effect stick replacements like these. Thankfully, the modules are very well lubed, so I think the only problem will be the potentiometers. I was able to put it back together and it still works. When reassembling the controller, you have to reconnect this part upside down, or else all of the buttons will fall. It's a bit hard to show, but you should insert the bottom part first. And wipe the fingerprints as they will interfere with the adhesive when you put it back together. The locks can be inserted like this, and do not make the mistake of swapping the analog sticks. They are different, and the left side is a bit larger than the right side. If you swap it, the right side will be touching the shell, and the left side will be extra tall. I had to disassemble everything again just to put them in the correct order. And here you can see that they are different. This will be a nightmare for repair shops. Moving to my final thoughts, the Pro Controller 2 is definitely a next-gen controller. The build quality and materials feels very premium. All of the buttons and sticks are super silent. It has the internal restriction gate for the analog sticks and 2 back buttons. I just don't know if the D-pad is good yet. On the cons, it has a terrible repairability. This will be a nightmare for repair shops to work with. The sticks are steel potentiometer sticks, which are susceptible to stick drift. And right now, this controller is only compatible with the Switch 2. You cannot use it on PC, smartphones, or even the Switch 1. And that's it for this video. If you're new to the channel, hitting the subscribe button helps me bring more content in the future. And I'll be leaving in the description my top 5 favorite third-party controllers. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.